the background of this book in a very short while. But in the meanwhile, I would like to really thank Professor Ravindranath, who is the Vice Chancellor for Central University of Kashmir. Uh, Zafar, who's an authority when it comes to Kashmir Shaivism, and he has done phenomenal amount of research and work in the area of Kashmir Shaivism. So I'm glad and privileged that Professor Zafar has come, and then all of our friends sitting here, and thank you to the Rising Kashmir. It's all because of him, because otherwise we had a program planned somewhere else today, but that was for the general people. But then we thought a restricted group of few people who appreciate such things, understand such things, we can have a small gathering at his office, and he was gracious enough to offer this space to organize this program. And my dear friends Amit and Pankaj, who have come all along from Gurgaon in Delhi to organize these small events where we can promote this book. So with that, I'm going to request Zafar Sahab to set the context about what we are trying to do and what actually this thought process, this book's idea belongs to, because he's not only an authority, he has himself translated Pratibhigya Hridayam into Kashmiri, in Devanagari as well as in Urdu, and that's very unique thing to find Pratibhigya. And now he has also translated Spanda Karika in Kashmiri, that's Urdu and Devanagari. So I think no better the person than him who can come and set the context for today's event. So I'm requesting Zafar Sahab to take another 15 minutes and help people to understand the core philosophy that we are trying to simplify in our book.
Thank you, sir. For inviting me here and giving me this chance to talk about this philosophy which is dear to my heart, which is close to my heart. So let me talk so that if you are not familiar with the philosophy, most of us are not, so that is no problem. But this philosophy is the philosophy of consciousness. It is a sort of yoga which anybody can practice without the discrimination of caste, creed or religion. So you need not be a Shaivite, practicing Shaivite in order to practice this discipline. So what is the basic concept? The basic concept is that Shiva, if you translate it literally, it means good. Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Good, it means good. If we translate it in Urdu, it means khair. This is absolute good. This is absolute good. This is, in Urdu, we will say khairil mutallaq, khairi mutallaq. Now, what is the nature of this khair? What is the nature of this good? Or what is the nature of Shiva? They say that it is Prakash Vimarshmai. It is that light which is self-conscious. Light, self-conscious light. In modern physics, you see, that's a different field, but in modern physics, ultimately, we have come down to the stage where we say that reality is the current of light. It is the vibration of light from which everything evolves. So, in our system, vibration is very important. Because of the vibration of consciousness, everything evolves, everything comes out from consciousness. Consciousness, it is limited in our mind. So, but this limited consciousness is a part of, or is a ansh of the absolute consciousness. Whatever things in this universe we perceive, they are all of them representations of manifestation of consciousness. Everything is a manifestation of consciousness. So according to this philosophy, there is no distinction between a human being and another human being. This caste system, this philosophy has totally rejected caste system. That is why it was not very popular at that time also. So because, you see, exploiters, power, those people who have, they want to exploit the other classes, lower classes. But here in this philosophy, there is no classification. Now, if you have to recognize yourself, if you have to recognize your Lord, you have to recognize yourself. That is the cream of this philosophy. As we say in Arabic, man arfa nafsahu faqad arfa rabbahu. One who knows himself knows the God. So you have to know yourself. So the book that Professor Raj was talking about is this book. And I have translated it into Kashmiri. So this is the crux of this philosophy. Actually, the most authentic book on Kashmir Shaivism is Ishwar Pratibhigyan Karika. It is by Acharya Utpal Dev. After Acharya Utpal Dev, we have a great legend, Abhinav Gupta. He has also written many books on this, and from a philosophical point of view, not from a religious point of view. And then there was one of his students whose name was Khemraj. Khemraj felt that this book is very logical, very scientific, and those people who are not trained in logic, who are not trained in philosophy, they cannot appreciate this book. So he wrote a sort of a summary for those whose intellect is not really very developed. In Kashmiri we say, Mishal Love Bod. So this book was written for those who are intellectually at a lower level. But when I read this book, it was very difficult for me, because our environment is now totally different. So we are not conversant with those concepts, with those theories, with those ideas. Neither is there that ecosystem. So, but I thought that it is better that we should make an effort to translate it into our mother tongue, Kashmiri, so that we preserve this tradition for future generations. And you see, actually, this book explains the text with the reference of Sufi poets of Kashmir, who are called Sufi poets. It is not a book that belongs to the museum. It is not a book that belongs to the library. It is a book that is living in the blood of Kashmir, but we are not conscious of that. So whatever is written in the book, see, there is a famous poet whose name is Rahim Sahib Sopur. He says, Shiv Rahimanvu Shiv Gashas, Om Pan Khara Ras, Om Devthi Tolme Vas Vas, Ha Vas Lagya Na Vas. And then again he says, Shastar Bal Shaishus Garan, Nal Rahimas Shastar Shuye, Taj Shastar Shui Dindaran, Be Aras Arno Chuye. He says that I recognize the reality in the light of Shiva. In the light of Shiva, I recognize Shiva. And traditionally we call this philosophy Shastar. In folk language we call it Shastar. So he says, I have been searching for reality with the support of Shastra. He says that I have my clothing is all made of Shastras. And he says that Shastra is the crown of faithful. So this kind of thing has been in this Kashmir, and you can quote hundreds and hundreds of poets. I have quoted them here. So in order to see that this philosophy is still living in Kashmir, what we call Kashmiriyat.
True in question always why it was bothering me, because I became general manager of a company, and when someone asked me, who are you? I said, I'm a general manager of this company. But after 2-3 years, I left that company, I became director of some company. Who are you? Now I'm no more a general manager, I'm a director. I left the director of IBM and I became the vice chancellor of this university. And I now know, in next few days, months, years, I may not be vice chancellor, I may be something else. So the question that was bothering me, that what I call this is me is not me. Then who is me? So there is something more to that I-ness, which sometimes I mislead with myself that I am this, or I may be a millionaire, so I may think I am a millionaire. I may be, the head of some big organization, but this is not what I am. So when I was dissecting this, and I got hold of this treasure that I found around, I realized one thing, that when we are born, we are not born empty. Means we are not born just a small baby with skin, flesh and bones, and then someone gives me a name, and then someone tells me what I have to do, how I have to grow, how I have to walk, how I have to think, and then I start emulating that and I become that. I realized when I am born with something. And what is that something? So today I'm calling myself Raj Nehru, and after say 1 year, 10 years, 20, 30 years, when I will step out of this world, this Raj Nehru body will go, but then something will remain, and that something has acquired so many things in this 50, 60, 80, whatever number of years I live, and then it will move and go into some other womb, and then it will take a new shape, and then it is again born. But then it will not be born with that 80 years of experience which it has carried with itself, the sanskars, the experience, the learning, the perception, the judgments. It will also carry the thousands of years of that birth, rebirth experience that I have acquired with myself. So when I am born again with all that treasure. It's a different thing that when I am born, the world changes my view and makes me to think, no, this is what you are and this is who you are. And it corrupts my thinking, and it completely, short circuits my thinking, because now my whole focus is outside. Because I relate myself to this, that, look, he has got 4 houses and you have only 2, so I am now fighting for that. Look, he has become this and now I have to become that. And in the pursuit of that, I forget who I am. So the real thing which I was supposed to do, that I had to actually go inward, which Dr. Saab ne badi achhi cheez batai, goran vonnam kunai watsun, nebarai dopnam andrei atsun. Now, Guru ne koi aisa vachan bola, kuch aisa bola. So Zafar Saab, thank you very much for setting the context and setting a perspective around Pratibhigya and Kashmir Shaivism, relating it to the concepts that you were talking about. So when you said science, it actually made me also to just reflect upon it, because when I was doing my research in last 2 years, because I am myself a student of psychology, and when I started exploring and reading more literature around it, some literature was available in libraries, some was not available, some I had to procure from some other sources. The one drawback I had was I had not read Sanskrit, because most of these manuscripts are in Sanskrit. So my limitation was that, sir, I had to rely on the translated scripts. And among all the translated scripts, I relied on the scripts that were translated by Dr. Jaidev Singh, most authentic translations. Besides this, when you said about the ability of our ancestors, I was surprised to read Dr. Ledeskar, who has also translated Pratibhigya Hridayam in 1959 in Madras University. And Dr. Ledeskar writes, and I am quoting him what he said in his translated Pratibhigya Hridayam. He says that Khemaraj, in his opening verses, writes about Pratibhigya that I am summarizing the entire Pratibhigya in 20 verses for the simple people of Kashmir, because the complexity of Pratibhigya may not be understood. This is what Acharya Khemaraj writes. Lediskar writes that I am feeling myself shameful that what kind of simple people we are then for whom he has written this, because I am not able to understand it after reading 3-4 times. So I am again coming to your point, what kind of Kashmiris were there during that 10th, 8th, 9th, 7th century whom Khemaraj calls they are simple people. For me it was very difficult because when I was reading translations, it took me almost 10-12 times to read the same verse, same interpretation by same person to really absorb that, because it was not getting into me. But my convenience of getting that was because I came from psychology background and I had been an ardent student of Daniel Goleman, Sigmund Freud and many other scholars including Carl Jung, and I had studied them very closely. So for me it became a little bit convenient, but otherwise he is right. What kind of simple people they were then. But that's one point. Second is, why I wrote this, I will tell you about that in a few minutes, but what Prof. Zafar said, the science part, I was trying to compare it with the science part, and we have Dr. Saab also sitting here. I'm sure it will be, tingling his inquisitive and inquiry-driven brain, and it happened with me as well. So I was reading the same thing because in 10th we read about matter and the different states of matter, which is solid, liquid, gas, very simple thing, and we simply took it. Water is liquid and gas is the one part of the material. Then we have solid like these, they are solid. So this was very simple for me to understand. But then when I started reading the science a little bit more, because I studied science only up till 12th, but my interest grew after reading this. So I realized what quantum physics is today talking about, that this entire universe is the substratum of a vibrating energy. This is what the science says, not me. The quantum physics says this entire universe is a substratum of a vibrating energy. So I was thinking about what is this vibrating energy, and it led me to what Dr. Saab said about the Om. Now Om for many may be religious. To me, when I started reading it, it didn't stay religious anymore to me. Why? Because the construct of Om is based out of two words. One is A and another is Ma. These are the two words, and in between there is U. So in Hindi we had studied Swar and Vyanjan. The Swars, there are 8 Swars, and then there is Vyanjan. Now if you look at all the Vyanjans, they are the output of Swar. A is the Anuttar Swar. Means it is that Anuttar Swar. Anuttar means which has got no question before it. Means if I say what is before U, you will say A. Let's say what is before A, you will say A. If I ask you what is before A, there is no voice, no sound that can be created. So A is the primordial sound. And Ma is the closing sound, which in our text we call it Bhairav, the closing which transforms everything. So A and Ma are two words which create all sounds. Look at Ka, Kha, Ga, Ga, Na. Ka has got the A foundation. Pa, Pha, Ba, Ba, Ma. Pa, A is the foundation. Yara, Lava, A is the foundation. So foundation or the sound is A, which is the Anuttar sound. So I was reading this cosmology and then I realized that when the Big Bang, what we call the Big Bang, so there is a leftover, the space material in the cosmos, which creates a humming sound. In the universe, there's a humming sound coming out of the leftover material of the Big Bang, and that humming sound is this is the humming sound. So this humming sound has got again two words, the and ma. This is the humming sound. Now this humming sound creates vibration, because the sound creates vibration.
And Mustafa Sahab, our teacher, and their guest, all assembled In fact, this Spandkarika, Zafar Sahib has written three. This is his third text. अगर award आसे ना वाजन conscious of heritage of culture कुताश कशीर हुंदी शायद सारे classes में ये आख text शिंगो मुस्लिम तर्जमा अगर हम ज़फर साहब आसे ऐसे score 0. So उन्होंने वो ऐसे सूत्रा ईश्वर कति हरदियम और उसके बाद अब स्पंदकारिका. Now what is beautiful about that, ज़फर साहब का already तर्जमा है प्लेटो का. Very few people wrote. और प्लेटो उनकी वो ज़ात में वो रच बस गया है. And in fact that has, I could see impact of it in this work. So ज़फर साहब in fact illumined this. जो हमारे बहुत बड़े आदमी थे हिंदुस्तान में फ़िलासफ़ी के दाया कृष्णा, ये इनके स्टूडेंट है. उसकी वजह से मुझे लगता है जो फ़िलासफ़ी की जो present to gosh, so ज़फर साहब is embodying that. And सबसे पहले congrats to Raj ji. I am Shiva. I was reminded of Mansoor al-Halaj का जो नारा ही था अनल हक, या वो कश्मीरी सूफीज़ का. तो it is very familiar this name in our religious and cultural consciousness. So what is Zafar Sahib trying to do? He's connecting this Sufi Shaivist philosophy and epistemology in a very beautiful way. He, for example, takes a lead from this Nundrish. You know that Dab yilidutum fikran andeshan adasui dutum bana kune. Ya kunere bozak kunno rozak emi kunran duntum kutadutum jalav akal fikir tor kut sozak kemi male chat fiksu daryav. The point is, what is this vibration and the science of all about? It is about what cannot be said. It is the language of about the state of reality which we cannot articulate about. Spandakarika is basically trying to articulate that sound, that vibrational principle. Some people try to see resemblance with string theory and all that. I will not go into those details, and Zafar Sahib has, I think, consciously avoided those comparisons. But the point is, let us see Zafar Sahib's beautiful language in his Godikath, how he explains this Spandakarika. Yohai gash sarnich vat shiv sutrat Spandakarika chahavan. Spandakarika ch insani vatnyaveras youth pilit youth wasyar dit timan halsan te kefiyatan kun ishar karan yaman halsan hun bayan insani zabani hundo wasilo banuni chana. So that is the problem. Rumi ka ek mashhur shaar hai. कांद्रा बेहरफ में रूयत कलाम खुदा बिनुमाजा आरा मकाम कांद्रा बेहरफ में रूयत कलाम खुदा मुझे उस स्टेज तक पहुंचाइए जहां कलाम अल्फाज के बगैर होता है. So this is one of the ways of trying to now how he defines shu in Platonic terms, very beautiful. Shu prakash vimarshmai yani su sunur yus zan khud agah ya vano lafz shuk matlab shu rut to yeh Success, exactly. Success consciousness. Lafz shuk matlab chu rut to yehai antaruts ritzar chu yemi zagtuk agur. Yehai gash, yehai antaruts zet, yehai antaruts by the kadun sarun to zun insani zindagi hun mool muda. This is the task of life, to realize this oneness, this shiv, this light. And that absolute good about which Plato has talked about. And in fact, Plato has not publicly delivered a lecture on the good. He said it cannot be given publicly. So it was as if it has to be restricted to a very small audience. In fact, it is ultimately spoken from here. It is not given. It rises from within.
Ceremony, and it's a collection of a large effort is there. And I congratulate and compliment him, and also Jafar Saab for translating it. And really impressed with these two people giving the outcome of the book. Especially Jafar Saab has given three things: Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. The Shivam means it is good. When someone is having goodness, the truth emerges. That is what we are speaking about Satyam. Then when truth emerges, it is automatically the inner beauty surfaces. Satyam, Sundaram. So this what is going to the human sensitivity and human life and values should imbibe in that. When is the philosophical approach which he is mentioning, being a science and technologist like me, and he has shown a passion. So how to translate? Because we speak about ancient knowledge and how to integrate with the modern day-to-day challenges. So this is one of the things is I always feel that there are three orders we used to see in the ecosystem normally. That is material order, the pranic order, and thirdly I feel it is a knowledge order. So in the material orders, what we speaking about, as a science student I studied the particle theory and wave theory and then the quantum mechanics where the energy and everything comes. So when environmental pollution, when we speak about, people speak only air, water and soil only, because air should be clean and water should be pure and soil must be fertile. So this, but I found one fourth dimension is nothing but energy pollution. So it may be sound which he mentioned. So those sounds should not be polluted. Once we spell properly, really the wave, that how it is vibrations do work for well-being of the people. Actually, I am happy to know his passion from which he learned from both of them, from their parents. I am also a first generation student. My father and mother are not very highly literate. My father, he is able to read and write that much only, but he has a thorough knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana. With that knowledge, he used to preach the best part of that. Of course, at a very my young age, he passed away. That means in the 20s I was there, but I could not able to have the fortunate enough. Had he listened from more, I would have been author like you. So this is the really best thing, because we always feel as educationist, there is a knowledge creation. Knowledge creation is done, there should be dissemination. Once dissemination is done, thirdly, the application must be there for betterment of the society. Whatever Raj Nehru has done, I really appreciate and compliment once again. And really, the future generation must benefit of it. And it's the translation which he carried by Jafar Saab. I appreciate. They said even now, Government of India thinking about the Indian knowledge system and Indian language, Bharati Bhasha Samiti. Actually, I wanted to interact with you, sir. The Central University of Kashmir is being a nodal university for Kashmiri language by the UGC, and I had to identify Kashmiri language authors so that all the science books and other textbooks we have to write up. There is around 22,000 textbooks in regional language. They are planning it out. So in the Kashmiri is also now, they identified in the second session, in the first only 14 languages they identified. Subsequently remaining languages has been made part of that. And I would like to be in touch with you in this aspect. And also, first of all, I thank you for giving me to be part of this particular good event, because first of all, I also compliment and being part of this, because most of you are not only the lovers of literature, probably the admirers of philosophy. So this book, which is going to give the best part of it, and we have to take it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.